Welcome back to the channel, guys. Donnie and D back at you. So today I'm going to be having a short discussion here about the pros and the cons of working new construction. Stay tuned. Alright, let's start off with the pros, the good part about working new construction. Okay. First thing I have written down here is when you work new construction, especially a house like this that I'm working on, you can work in multiple areas all at the same time. So you can start this floor, start that wall, stop and start multiple different areas. That way you always have something to do. You're not waiting for dry times, things like that. So really good plus there. Another pro. No one's occupying the house. Usually when you're doing new construction, unless you're doing like an addition on someone's house, you're building a whole house from the ground up. Usually no one is occupying the house, living there, so you have pretty much free reign of the whole place. So really good pro there. Okay, so another pro. No one's in your way. Most of the time, you know, I work for my builders. They try to have me have a schedule, so I give them amount of time. I'm going to do the job. Hopefully, it doesn't always work out like that. That there's no other trades in my way. That really makes things more efficient for all the parties involved. So that's just another pro there. Another pro here, we can set up your staging area inside the house. So for me being a tile contractor and bathroom contractor, and when I do work for builders, it's just usually the tile, I can stage in an area. So staging area meaning like my mixing area, my cutting area, things like that, inside the house close to the areas that I'm working in to make things a lot more efficient. Another pro here is sometimes you can start, you know, at any time you want and end at any time you want. Now, depending on the areas you work, or if you're doing work on a, you know, if it's like a new condo, might not be the case, but usually when I'm doing new construction, it's a single family house, you know, not attached, and I can pretty much start with any time I want to. Now, being in Jersey, you're not technically supposed to make noise till 8 a.m. and you have to stop by 8 p.m. But let's say if you want to get to the job at 6 or 7, as long as you're not making a lot of noise running a jackhammer, you should be okay. But every area in the country could be different with that. Especially if you're working in a condo or doing, you know, a condo has HOA, you know, but usually they have times you can work or make noise, and they're real strict on that depending on that HOA. So another pro here, at the end of each day, which I really like, is, you know, instead of when you're doing remodels, you have to make sure you clean up because you're working in someone's house, right? It's really important that you do that. You don't want to leave a mess for that. No one wants that. So when you work in new construction, you know, let's say you get done for the day, you can just literally drop your tools, pick them up the next day, and continue on. You don't have to be sweeping, vacuuming, making everything look like you were never there. So as far as the pros go, that's what I have listed so far. If you're a tile contractor like me, or just another type of contractor in construction, you can relate. And as far as the pros go, that's what I have written down. But you know what? If you have some, hit up the comment section and let me know what do you think are the really good pros about new construction as well. So I'm going to move on now to the cons. Okay, you know, the bad parts about working new construction, depending how you look at it. So the one con would be, which is one that's usually on most new constructions that I do, is you're in the mud. So for example, a new house, single family house, they got to excavate the front yard, the backyard, so it's all mud depending when the builder scheduled you to come in to do the finish work. Most times for me, I'm walking in the mud. Another con here, there's usually no heat or AC, so you're going to be dealing with that in the winter, dry times, and hot in the summer. So it's not always that case, but a lot of times it is. So if you can't deal with the elements, you know, this will be difficult. So another part about construction, you got to be able to deal with the elements and get things done. Another con, like I was saying, the pros, you know, sometimes you could be working, you know, around other trades or other trades working right over you. So worry about them walk on your freshly set tile. And the area's not grouted, a paint guy comes in, sprays paint all over the place. There could be a lot of things going on. And usually you want to avoid that, you know, as much as possible you can. Have really good, open, honest conversation about the builder, set expectations about the timeline and what you need to have there. So that way everyone is completely happy at the end of the project. Another con here, you know, working in the mud, doing tile work, you really have to have clean floors. So sometimes when you work in the mud, depending on what the weather's like, it gets stuck on your shoes and dragging inside, and it ends up all over the place. So that's not a fun thing to deal with, but part of it. Another thing, you know, you work in new construction, this may sound obvious, but it really isn't. There's no bathroom. The house, you're lucky if the house has power or water. So usually you're using a porta potty as long as the builder supplied that. Otherwise you're driving somewhere to use a toilet. So, you know, this is it's literally a construction site. It's not. It's like you're camping with power or water sometimes. So you got to be able to deal with that. You know, it's construction. Another con here. Sometimes, you know, you're dealing with a cheap builder work. Meaning, like, sometimes they just do real basic jobs, and maybe that's not what you're aiming for. But if you're doing builder's work, there's going to be all type of levels of what kind of, you know, work you're doing. Real high end, real low end, in the middle. You got to see what works for you. And if you're a tile contractor, you know, any type of contractor doing work for a builder as a subcontractor, you got to see what he's doing and make sure it makes sense for what you do. Sometimes there's no or limited parking on these job sites. I mean, if you're working in an urban area, you have to, you know, deal with that. I have a 14-foot trailer. You know, a good chunk of my jobs are not able to park it because it's limited parking and no parking. So you have to consider that when you're doing new construction as well, because you know, believe it or not, doing tile work, we do require a lot of tools. People think we just show up with a trowel and a bucket and a level and we do the job. There's a lot involved, and that really goes to any trade. There's more than meets the eye. So there's a lot to that goes behind the scenes, and things that you need and so on that go along with producing a good quality, you know, installation for everybody. Another con here, builders sometimes don't want to pay a premium to have premium work done. So that really depends on the builder. If you're a contractor, like I said, watching this, you just have to find the right one that works for you, that you guys mesh together, and, you know, everyone makes a living at the end. You don't want to be doing work for a cheap builder and you know, you get done with the job and it's not a profitable job for you, or, you know, you rush it and it doesn't come out good, and it's not good for either party involved. You know, value your time and work for builders that work for you, you're a good fit for each other. All right, another con here, some builders won't pay anything until the project is done. So some builders, once you get started and you got thousands and thousands of dollars in material, and they don't want to pay you a penny until the job's done. And I don't personally work like that. If you're a contractor watching this and you work like that, great, but that's not how I do business. Some builders, another con here, some builders you have to chase to get paid. Once again, I don't work like that. I do a down payment before the job starts, and then I do progress payments. And then again, sometimes I do get done with jobs, I'm still waiting for a payment, but as long as I got my first few, it's not a big deal. And as long as we get paid, you know, relatively soon after the job is done, it's no big deal. But that's one thing you have to deal with some builders. And like I said, you want to avoid working for those people if you can. Work for the people that work for you. Another con here, a lot of times when you do a new construction, new homes like the house that I'm going to be showing on this video here, is that if there's power, usually there's only one outlet right at the electrical panel, maybe two there. So if you're doing tile work, a lot of times for me, I'm working on the second, third floor. I got to run a long extension cord and hope that the builder electrician put a nice 20 amp circuit on there so you're not blowing it left and right, because all the tools we use draws a lot of power. So that's one thing you got to deal with that. No big deal, but it's part of the job. So if you're watching this video, listening to it, make sure that you have long extension cords and know the situation with the power before you begin the job. Another con here, you might not be able to lock up the house to keep the tools safe. So sometimes, it's brand new construction, it might be a front door on or whatever, but there's no lock. So if you got a lot of money and tools you worry about, you're going to have to deal with taking them on and off the job. I personally haven't had to worry about that. I usually work out with the builder that we are able to lock up the house in some way, shape, or form. But keep that in mind when you do work in new construction. A lot of times it's very easy to get in and out of the house. So if you're working in an area that's not so nice, make sure you take care of your tools. One more con here, last one. Sometimes there's a tight timeline. That might happen more or less with different areas of the country, different builders or whatnot. I would say for sure. Just make sure you set the expectations. Make sure you know when the builder has to have it done. Make sure you know how long you're going to take. Just set up the whole job prior. Make sure you have good communication so you don't have to have that pressure of rushing the job. No one wants to have to deal with that. So if there is a tight timeline, make sure you know. Make sure you can get it done in that time. Be really realistic about it. So that's all I got for you guys right here, right now, as far as the pros and cons go of working new construction. I hope this helped you out. If you have any question whatsoever, please write them in the comment section below and I'll get back to you. Otherwise, please hit that subscribe button, hit that like, and while you're at it, hit the bell to get notified for future videos that I put out. I try to put anywhere from 1, sometimes 2 videos a week. So thanks again for tuning in. Donnie D, signing off.